So far, we looked at that goods market equilibrium in a closed economy is given as y is equal to z, where z is c plus I plus g plus nx. If we go back a bit. So we talked about this over here, right? That equilibrium condition for the goods market is given as z is equal to y, where z is demand for goods, y is output or income. We now want to look at an alternative but an equivalent way to represent goods market equilibrium in a closed economy where net exports is zero. For this, let's first look at some definitions. National savings is private plus public savings, where private savings is disposable income, which is not spent on consumption. So it's YD minus C, where we know disposable income is income minus taxes. So private savings, which is disposable income not spent on consumption, is Y minus T minus C. Public savings are T minus G. So national savings are private plus public savings. So it's Y minus T minus C plus T minus G is Y minus C minus G. So this is important to keep in mind. National savings is the sum of private and public savings, and it simplifies to Y minus C minus G. So now let's go back to our equilibrium condition in a closed economy. So we know the equilibrium condition is Y is equal to Z, and Z is C plus I plus G. Net exports are zero in a closed economy. So now let's rewrite this equilibrium condition as Y minus C minus G is equal to I. So we're taking C and G on the other side. And here, like we just talked about, Y minus C minus G is national savings, the sum of private and public savings. So the goods market equilibrium condition, the key is in a closed economy, can be rewritten as national savings, which is the sum of private and public savings, and simplifies to Y minus C minus G is equal to I, right? We saw here, national savings can be written as Y minus C minus G. So this gives us another way of thinking about equilibrium in the goods market. It says that equilibrium in the goods market requires that investment is equal to national savings. Key is that this is only true in a closed economy. If we include foreign trade in our analysis, so we get a more complete picture which relates investment to savings and net exports. So keep in mind, so this says that equilibrium in the goods market for a closed economy requires that investment is equal to national savings. So this is true for a closed economy, that we can rewrite equilibrium condition in a closed economy like this. If it were an open economy, then we would have to count for net exports too. More on that later. So two alternative but equivalent ways to determine equilibrium Y in a closed economy. The first is the income expenditure approach, which we talked about earlier, which is where demand is equal to output. Other is the savings investment approach, which is where national savings is equal to private investment. So these are the two alternative but equivalent ways to determine equilibrium Y in a closed economy. So let's now find equilibrium Y using the savings investment approach in a closed economy, the I is equal to S approach. Earlier, we characterized equilibrium using the first condition, y is equal to z. We now want to do the same using the second condition. We did this here, that so where is this? Right here. Here we found equilibrium y using the first condition, y is equal to z, the income expenditure approach, right? Over here we found the demand function z, we set it equal to y and found equilibrium y. We now want to do the same using the second condition, using the alternative way to represent equilibrium in the goods market in a closed economy. We're going to go back to our basic model of the goods market, where we have a linear consumption function, C0 plus C1 by D. We have investment, government spending, and taxes exogenously given. And since it's a closed economy, net exports is. So now we know using the savings investment approach, equilibrium Y in closed economy is given by I is equal to S, we saw. So this is how we looked at we can represent equilibrium condition in a closed economy. So this is an alternative and equivalent way. We talked about I is equal to S. Where I is private investment, S is national savings. And we already saw this is the sum of private and public savings, and this simplifies to Y minus C minus G. The key thing to remember is equilibrium Y in a closed economy using the savings investment approach is I is equal to S, where I is private investment, S is national savings. And these national savings are Y minus C minus G. So now given the assumptions in our standard goods market model that we saw over here, we know that I in this case is just simply equal to I bar, where assuming investment is exogenously given. And our national savings are just, we know, Y minus C minus G, and C over here is given to us as C0 plus C1 by D. By D is Y minus T, T is just T bar. right? So given the assumption of standard goods market model, C is just simply C naught plus C1 YD, where YD is Y minus T bar, and G is just G. Again, we're just using these assumptions over here. Okay, C is C naught plus C1 YD is Y minus T is T bar, and G is G bar. Right, so given the assumptions in a standard goods market model, we can write I is equal to I bar, and we can simplify S like this. So equilibrium Y we know is where I is equal to S. Given the assumptions in our standard goods market model, I is I bar, and we found S to be this using what C and G are. And then from here, we can solve for equilibrium Y. And this is the exact same value that we got when we use the alternative condition Y is equal to Z. Like, so if we go back, so this is the exact same answer that we got. Like, this is the exact same answer that we have here as well. So the crux here is that there are two alternatives, but equivalent ways to determine equilibrium Y in a closed economy. One is you can use income expenditure approach, Z is equal to Y. The other is you can use savings investment approach, national savings is equal to private investment. Here, keep in mind, national savings can be simplified as we saw, Y minus C minus G.